Pamela by Samuel Richardson. The theme of class and morality. Samuel Richardson's Pamela, as a novel, explores the difference between the wealthy upper-class people and the poor lower-class people in the 18th century Britain. While virtuous characters in the book often receive material rewards for their good behavior, this doesn't mean that the wealthiest characters are always the most moral. What does this mean? It means that the upper class people or the rich people pay or give rewards, material rewards, such as money, for instance, for those poor people who show good behavior or obedient behavior. But does this mean that the rich people or the upper class people in this novel are ideal people or moral people? No, it's not always the case. For instance, the wealthy Mr. B is a libertine, which means someone who easily makes relationships with women and might commit any immoral deeds. His sister, Lady Davers, is full of old-fashioned prejudice or bias against people from lower classes. So the sister of Mr. B or Lady Davers hates or doesn't like poor people, and she is always against them. Mr. B himself admits how his wealth has made him spoiled, which means he is an immoral person, and the reason for this is his richness or his fortune. And he is not used to other people telling him no. So that by virtue of his money or wealth, he needs all those around him to obey him. He doesn't accept that someone tells him no or objects him. In contrast to these flawed upper-class characters, what do we mean by flawed upper-class characters? Those rich people or wealthy people who have faults or something bad in their characters. In contrast to them, Pamela's poor parents or her father and mother are among the most honest characters in the book. And the Reverend Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams is a man of religion. He is a very respectable person. Is much kinder to Pamela than Mr. B, despite his lower social status. Mr. Williams is considered a poor person or a lower class person. However, he is a very kind-hearted person who helps Pamela. It might seem that the novel is critical of the class divide, suggesting that class has little to do with a person's character. and that the class divide is not so extreme after all, and that the marriage of the upper class Mr. B to his servant Pamela proves this. What does this mean? It means that Mr. B is a wealthy person or a rich person, and Pamela is a poor servant. However, in the second part of the novel, they get married. So, this might mean that the writer or the novel is against the class divide because it allows or accepts the marriage between an upper class person and a lower class maid. However, many characters worry that marrying Pamela might hurt Mr. B's reputation, which means that the 18th century society in Britain doesn't accept this marriage and doesn't consider it a proper marriage or an ordinary marriage. Many people at that time think that marrying Pamela, who is a very poor girl, will cause a bad reputation for Mr. B because he is a wealthy man who is supposed to marry from a wealthy family. What does this suggest? This suggested that the class divide is real after all. So it's a fact that we cannot deny, and that the novel upholds rather than criticizes it. So the novel reveals that in the British society there is a class divide which doesn't accept such a marriage between a wealthy person and a poor girl. It's noteworthy that many of the lower class characters with the best manners, including Mr. Jervis and Pamela's parents, originally came from wealthier backgrounds but fell on hard times. It's another remark that shows that only wealthy people are good people or distinct people. Those who show good behavior are originally rich people, but their fortune changed after they passed through some hard times. So originally, morality is related to higher class. By the end of the novel, Pamela marries Mr. B, and so completes her transition or movement to the upper class. This is called class or social mobility, which means that movement from one class to another. By this marriage, Pamela moves from the lower class to the upper class. So she undergoes class mobility. While Richardson's Pamela challenges some aspects of the British class system by highlighting both the moral shortcomings or faults of the upper class and the good morals of the lower class, it ultimately or eventually or at the end upholds the status quo by suggesting that Members of the upper class deserve their privilege and power as long as they use it responsibly, like Pamela. This is the end of our lesson. Thanks for watching and goodbye.